Have you ever wondered what happens when more than one person owns a house? Maybe two friends buy a home together. Maybe siblings inherit property from their parents. Or maybe a married couple buys their dream home. Believe it or not, how they choose to own that property legally can make a huge difference, especially if someone dies, wants to sell, or runs into financial trouble. Today, we are going to break down forms of co-ownership in real estate. By the way, I'm Toni, a state-certified real estate instructor teaching real estate in the classroom for the last 11 years. We're going to focus on three major types of co-ownership that pop up on the state exam over and over again: joint tenancy, tenancy in common, and tenancy by the entirety. Let's jump in and define co-ownership. Co-ownership simply means two or more people own the same piece of real estate at the same time. With some variations from state to state, people can share ownership in different legal ways, and each one has different rules about ownership percentage, transfer of ownership, survivorship rights, and who can participate in the ownership. Think of it like sharing a pizza. You can split the pizza evenly. You can give someone a bigger slice, or you might have special rules about what happens if someone leaves the table. Real estate works the same way. Let's start with joint tenancy. Joint tenancy is when two or more people own property together with equal ownership interest and rights of survivorship. Joint tenants must own equal shares of the property. If three people own a home as joint tenants, each person owns 1/3 of the property. If two people own it, each owns 1/2. You cannot have one joint tenant owning 70% and another owning 30%. It must be equal. Now, rights of survivorship. This is the biggest feature of joint tenancy. Rights of survivorship means when one owner dies, their share automatically transfers to the surviving owner. This happens automatically, outside of a will and outside of probate court. Example, let's say Alex and Jordan buy a house as joint tenants. They each own 50%. If Alex passes away, Jordan automatically becomes the 100% owner of the property. Even if Alex's will says they want their share to go to someone else, it does not matter. The survivorship rule controls how joint tenancy can end. Joint tenancy can be broken if one owner sells or transfers their share. Now let's talk about tenancy in common. Tenancy in common means two or more people own property together. Ownership percentages can be different. There are no rights of survivorship. So this is interesting. Unequal ownership is allowed in tenancy in common, which is very different from joint tenancy, meaning tenancy in common co-owners can hold different percentages. For example, three investors buy a property. One invests 50%, one invests 30%, one invests 20%. The different percentages is perfectly legal under tenancy in common. Here is another interesting fact about tenancy in common. There are no rights of survivorship. This is extremely important under tenancy in common. This means if one owner dies, their share does not automatically go to the other owners. Instead, their share goes to their heirs. Let me give you an example. Let's say Paige and Tanya own a vacation property as tenants in common. Paige owns 60%. Tanya owns 40%. If Paige dies, her 60% share might go to her children. Now Tanya suddenly co-owns the property with Paige's children, even if Tanya has never met them. That can create complicated situations for sure. Here is a quick student summary for tenancy in common. Ownership shares can be unequal, no survivorship rights, and owners can leave their share to heirs. Now let's move on to tenancy by the entirety. This one is a very special type of ownership that only applies to married couples. The married couple has equal ownership with rights of survivorship. Equal ownership. Just like joint tenancy, each spouse owns 50%. And there is survivorship rights. meaning if one spouse dies, the surviving spouse automatically becomes full owner of the property, again, regardless of a will. Tenancy by the entirety offers a special protection feature, which is found in New York law, but can vary from state to state. One spouse generally cannot force the sale of the property without the other spouse's consent. Also, creditors of only one spouse usually cannot force the sale of the home. This offers strong protection for married couples. Here's an example of tenancy by the entirety. Taylor and Sam are married and own their home as tenants by the entirety. If Taylor dies, Sam automatically owns 100% of the home. If Taylor has personal debt, creditors typically cannot force Sam to sell the house to pay that debt. Quick student summary of tenancy by the entirety. Only for married spouses. Equal ownership. Rights of survivorship. Extra creditor protection in New York. Let's recap. Joint tenancy means equal shares in survivorship. Tenancy in common means flexible shares or unequal shares and no survivorship. And tenancy by the entirety is between married spouses with equal interest, survivorship, and protection. Real estate law affects everyday life, whether you plan to buy property someday or inherit property from family. And understanding these ownership types can help people make smarter financial decisions. Let's jump into a few practice questions to make sure you're catching the key points. This is where everything really starts to click. Question number 1. Which form of co-ownership requires owners to have equal ownership interest and rights of survivorship? A. Tenancy in common. B. Joint tenancy. C. Leasehold ownership. You might want to pause for a few seconds while you contemplate the answer. The answer is B. Joint tenancy. Question number 2. What happens to a joint tenant's ownership share when they die? A. It passes through their will. B. It automatically transfers to surviving co-owners. C. It is sold by the state. The answer is B. It automatically transfers to surviving co-owners. Question number 3. Which form of co-ownership allows owners to hold unequal ownership percentages? A. Tenancy in common. B. Joint tenancy. C. Tenancy by the entirety. The answer is A. Tenancy in common. Question 4. Which form of ownership is only available to legally married spouses in New York? A. Joint tenancy. B. Tenancy by the entirety. C. Tenancy in common. The answer is B. Tenancy by the entirety. Question number 5. Which type of co-ownership has no rights of survivorship? A. Tenancy in common. B. Joint tenancy. C. Tenancy by the entirety. The answer is A. Tenancy in common. Question number 6. Under tenancy by the entirety, if one spouse dies, what happens to the property? A. It is divided between children. B. The surviving spouse becomes full owner. C. It must be sold. The answer is B. The surviving spouse becomes full owner. Question number 7. Two friends purchase a home together and each owns 50% with survivorship rights. Which form of ownership are they most likely using? A. Tenancy by the entirety. B. Joint tenancy. C. Tenancy in common. The answer is B. Joint tenancy. Question number 8. Which form of ownership generally provides extra protection from creditors of only one spouse in New York? A. Joint tenancy. B. Tenancy in common. C. Tenancy by the entirety. The answer is C. Tenancy by the entirety. Question number 9. If a tenant in common dies, who receives their ownership share? A. The remaining co-owners automatically. B. Their heirs or beneficiaries. C. The local government. The answer is B. Their heirs or beneficiaries. Make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss the next lesson. Have a great day, everyone.